Please use the chat box if you want to say anything to me. Uh, so far, we have discussed the poetry and drama in detail. In today's class, we will be discussing fiction, and if possible, we will go to the non-fiction also, if time permits. But we'll quickly begin with the topic that is fiction. So, what is the meaning of fiction in general? So if there is any idea, just please type the answer in chat box. It is there on the screen, but I'm just page number is 24. 24, sir. You can see on the screen 24 out of 450. Yes, imaginary. Yes, imaginary writing, imaginary story, not real story. Yes, yeah. In the class, in the previous class, that is the first class, we discussed about the types of literary genres in which we uh, have gone through three different types of literary genres. The one is the poetry. Poetry is the oldest of all the literary genres. Kindly note this point. Poetry is the oldest of all the literary genres because it is transmitted orally through generations to generations, even when there is no alphabet. When there is no alphabet, so it is purely of oral literature. Later, from poetry, the drama has emerged, and in drama, two types of literary genres are used. One is the poetry, and the other one is the prose. And we discussed it in the previous class also. The noble characters, especially the noble characters, the great characters in the drama uses poetry, whereas the comic characters, the low characters, they use the prose. And the latest the latest trend, or the latest emerged literary genre is the fiction. And fiction, especially, we discuss the novel is very important in the fiction. And there is another type of literary genre that is called non-fiction. So the simple difference is between fiction and non-fiction is fiction is purely based on imagination. It's a narrative. Fiction is nothing but it's a narrative. It's a story told with imaginary characters, imaginary situations, imaginary characters. It's not an history. It is not based on facts. If it is based on the facts, if it is based on the real stories, we call it as non-fiction. In that, we have autobiographies, biographies, travelogues, diaries, and several other essays and several other literary subgenres. But in today's class, we are going to discuss about the fiction in detail, especially the novel. So, novel in the term, we use the term during the corona period also. Novel coronavirus. What is the exact meaning of novel? If anyone has the idea. Novel. Novel. Novel means, any answer? Yes, new thing. Simple. Novel means new thing. Corona is a new virus for us. It's a novel coronavirus. In the same way, novel itself, the term, that means a new thing. The literary meaning of the novel is new thing, which emerged in the 17th century. So, generally in literature, we have, in fiction, we have novels, short stories, comic books, fairy tales, and poetry, narrative poetry, all these are fictional. But especially the most important or valuable literary work, that is literary genre, is novel. So generally in short story we have 2000 to 7500 words, but in novella, so yesterday sir was uh, giving you explanation about what is novella. Novella is larger than short story but smaller than a novel. So if it is of middle length, short stories, obviously the name itself says short story. Novel means a new thing. It is generally novel has more than 15,000 words, or sometimes it's 50,000, 50,000 words. It was wrongly printed. Yeah, but if it is more than short story and less than novel, we call it as novella. Just please make a note of this point. And this literary, this fiction can be categorized into two different sections. This is not much important, but just for general idea I'm giving you. One is genre fiction or genre fiction or popular fiction, and the other one is literary fiction. So do you have any idea about this segregation or the categorization? If yes, please type it in the chat box. What is a genre fiction, or what is a literary fiction? Any idea? Just please give it a try. The answer is highlighted here. You can just read the answer. A fictional work, if it is written with an intention to fit into a genre. There are several literary subgenres in novel, in fiction. But if the author wants to include, or if the author has written the novel with some motive, some intention, some type of categorization, that is called as genre fiction. So he's already decided. For example, if the author has, screen is not appearing, is it same for everyone? Please, I'm able to see the screen. If not, please rejoin. Yes, visible sir, Swapna, thank you. Vinesh, please check your internet connection, and once again please rejoin if the problem maybe with your internet speed. Yeah, thank you for that comment. And yes, genre fiction is nothing but a fiction which is already written with a motive, or it can be segregated into a subcategory if it is able to subcategorize. So some novels, maybe even in movies we can see that some movies are comical movies, some movies are romantic movies, some are mystery movies, some are detective movies, some are fantasy movies, some are based on scientific fiction, that is future world, and some are horror movies. Yes, there are several other types also, but I am just giving you one few categories. So if a novel fits into any of these subcategories, it is called as a genre fiction. But if it is very complex, if it is very difficult to subcategorize, so we cannot say, sometimes we cannot simply say that this work is related to horror fiction. If we cannot say this work is related to romantic fiction, sometimes there are few works are there in English literature, so those are not easily categorized into genres. They are very important, obviously very important works of English literature. Some complex, some typical works. So these works are called as literary fiction. Just know the name, nothing else you need to remember. Coming to the examples, so in subgenres of genre fiction or popular fiction, we have crime fiction novels, detective fiction novels. So these novels are centered on murders. Yeah, page number 24 out of 450, Ravinder sir. Crime fiction, detective fiction, these are based on the mysteries, the murders, thrill, and suspensions. And whereas fantasy fiction is a purely imaginative, and romance, we all know that based on love, inspirational, that is conduct books, code of conduct, a good behavior, and horror fiction, supernatural elements, maybe related to the ghost, gothic novels are there. So especially the western type of subgenre is there, that is based on cowboys, especially in 1950s it was a trend, and based on magic realism. So the best example to note for magic realism is Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children. So we will discuss all these subtypes in the today's class. And coming to the literary fiction, as I told you, so it is not easily categorized. It doesn't fit it into any of the genres listed above. There are some other genres also, but it is not easy to categorize them. So the have given few examples like To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. It's a famous American novel. And Life of Pi. You might have watched the movie Life of Pi movie, that by N. Patel. It is based on a boy and um, some Jew animals like tiger and other animals. Especially with the tiger, he spent 40 days in a ocean. So that was a beautiful story. So if possible, please watch the movie Life of Pi. So Pai Patel, yeah, Richard Parker, exactly. Richard Parker is a hero of this Yan Patel's novel Life of Pi. Very good example. The pi value. So there is a mathematical connection also. Pi is nothing but 22 by 7 or 3.14. But the hero remembers it up to, it's a infinite number. The hero remembers that number in a good way. So that's why he is called as Pi Patel. So Pi, Richard Parker is the name of the tiger here. Yes, Richard Parker is the name of the tiger. So very important question this is. So the other important novel, The Catcher in the Rye. This is also an American novel by J.D. Salinger. The Kite Runner. This is a Bangladeshi novel by Khalid Hosseini. We will discuss all these novels in the post-colonial literature. And we also have The Lord of the Flies, which was a very good example. It's a very good novel based on shipwrecked. Actually, this is not shipwrecked. Actually, a group of schoolboys deserted in an island through a plane clash. Plane crash. Their plane crashes into a deserted island, and the boys spent in the island alone without any adult supervision. So it's a beautiful novel. You can just go through, and it's part of the jail junior lecturer and degree college syllabus also. So you can go through this novel. So this simple example I have given you is the crime fiction, the genre fiction and literary fiction. Just term is enough, nothing more to do. And now we are going to the discussion of the novel. Yeah, as I said, novella, the Italian term which means a new thing. The actual literary meaning is a little new thing. A little new thing. As I told you, novel coronavirus. Novel means new. Novella, a new thing. So the current term, German term, so is nothing but novelette. Novelette is also has a similar meaning, a prose fiction of middle length. So just remember this one. And we have a very important work here, that is Ian Watt. Ian Watt's novel, that is a study. Actually, this is a very important literary critical work. The Rise of the Novel. The subtitle is very important. Studies in Defoe, Richardson, and Fieldings. So he has studied the novels of Defoe, Richardson, and Fielding. So the one of the foremost are the forerunners of the novel. These three can be called as the forerunners, the beginners. They established the novel as a literary genre. Very important writers, and we will be discussing them in detail. So Defoe, Richardson, and Fielding. These three are very important. And Ian Watt's novel, The Rise of the Novel, is a literary study about how novel eyes emerged into a literary genre. Especially he taken the study of Defoe, Richardson, and Fielding. Please remember the name of the work and the name of the author, Ian Watt, and the subtitle is very important. This is a post-colonial work, we can say 1957, based on the first writers of the novel. And we have few important few important literary codes or definitions, we can say definitions of the novel. So novel is a pocket theater. It's nothing but, we also discussed what is the difference between drama and a novel. Drama is intended for performance, whereas novel is intended for reading. That is a major difference between novel and drama. And the one who defined this as a pocket theater is F.M. Crawford. Just remember the name. And novel is a summary of actual life. It's by George Meredith. George Meredith is one of the important writers. Yesterday we discussed it. And novel is a comic epic in prose. This is very, very, very important definition by Henry Fielding. Novel is a comic epic in a prose. Comic epic in a prose. This is very important definition. Just make a note of this. And here W.H. Hudson is a famous writer of history of English literature, a book named History of English Literature. And in that he defined it as a very important statement here. Anyone can write a novel if they have a pen and ink and paper with good command and a certain amount of leisure and patience. So this is very important quote by W.H. Hudson. And even we have an important quote in A Room of One's Own. So do you know what is the quote from A Room of One's Own? Anyone idea? Any idea about A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf? Very important work. A Room of One's Own. We will discuss the work in literary criticism. However, I'm just asking you to please type the answer. Do you know any important quotation related to novel or related to writing by Virginia Woolf in A Room of One's Own? Any idea? So I'm waiting for your answers. I'm just trying to connect it with literary.
See if anyone had a money, our own room,
Yeah, please.
you may write.
Yes, yes. She famously said, if women has if women has $500 a year, $500 a year, and a room of one's own, that means she needs some leisure, she needs some patience. So that's why I'm just trying to connect to this definition here, leisure and patience. And especially she said women can write a novel if she has $500, that is some financial independence. Otherwise we can say some amount of money, $500 per annum, and as well as a room of one's own. So it is not any disturbance, without any disturbance, without any other work, some leisure, some patience, she can write a fiction. So very important work, and we will discuss it in the feminist criticism. So now we are moving into the history of English novel. So far we discussed what is a novel, what is a genre fiction, and what is a popular fiction. And we also looked into the definition of the novel. Novel is nothing but a new thing, a little new thing, novella. And now The first and important work to remember the novel, history of English novel, is very important work, Boccaccio's Decameron. Decameron. Deca means 100. Decameron means 100 stories. Simply, Boccaccio, he wrote 100 stories. It's a world famous collection of stories in prose. This can be called as the first work in prose, and this is not a novel, but the prequel, or we can say the first, uh, like the one who started a writing of prose or writing of fiction is the Boccaccio. And very importantly, in English, we have Defoe. His Robinson Crusoe is treated as the first English novel. Is treated as the first English novel. Robinson Crusoe is very important. Is very important for a famous character. Do you know the name of the character? There is a slave. There is a slave in the Robinson Crusoe's novel. So Robinson Crusoe is a story based on a person, traveler, who is shipwrecked. Shipwrecked in the sense he lost his ship and deserted in an island. So in that island, he finds a slave. He saves a slave from the cannibals, and that slave becomes his permanent worker, or that person will become his slave. Do you know the name of the slave? It's a very important question in a set point of view. The name of the slave is very interesting. Any idea, any answer, any clue from you? I'm waiting for your response in the chat box. Yeah. So far, no answers. Yes, Aditi, thank you. Friday. Friday is the answer. The name of the person, the name of the slave in the Robinson Crusoe's novel is Friday. Make a note of it. However, we discuss it in the novel, but it's very important. Robinson Crusoe, the Defoe's novel, is treated as the first English novel. And then the father of English novel, modern English novel, the father of modern English novel is regarded as Samuel Richardson. He experimented as a type of novel called epistolary. So that we will discuss in the today's class also. Don't worry. These are some early examples of the novel. Bunyan's Pilgrim Progress, which is very, very important in English literature. So the progress of a pilgrim, the progress. Here, this book is related to the Christianity, and the pilgrim is the Christian, named Christian, and his journey is described. His journey to the from this world to the heaven, the other world. So this journey is in 10 stages, and those 10 stages are very important. This book is very famous in English literature, and this book is next to the Bible. I mean, in number of copies sold in English literature. So Pilgrim's Progress is very important, and make a note of this work, Bunyan's Pilgrim Progress. And we all know a satire by Swift. By Swift, it is Gulliver Travels, very famous work, and there are four different travels discussed in Gulliver Travels, and you all know the Lilliputs. Lilliputs are 1.5 inch small living, and we can say people, the one who are in 1.5 inch. And we also have Brobdingnags, that is the taller than a tall tree, so a palm tree, the palm tree like giants. And and we have another two travels also. We'll discuss it elaborately. Just remember this work as early example of novel, and we have Lilliputs in it. Don't forget that. And Nashi. This subtitle is very important. Nashi's work. This is called as Unfortunate Traveler. The name of the work is Unfortunate Traveler, but the subtitle is very, very important. This is Life of Jock Wilton. Life of Jock Wilton. Here we have a new term. Picaresque novel. What is the meaning of picaresque novel? Can anyone answer my question? If you know, please type it in the chat box. What is the meaning of picaresque? Picaresque novel? Yeah, rogue. Srinivas, right answer, very right answer. The word picaro. Picaro is a Spanish word. Picaro is a Spanish word. Remember this term. It's very important. Picaro means rogue in Spanish language. So picaresque is the novel which is related to the adventures of the Picaro, his adventures, his deeds, his activities, the rogue's activities, and his progress in his life. Very important. Picaresque novel. The first picaresque novel in English literature is Thomas Nash's Unfortunate Traveler, or the subtitle is asked few times, that is Life of Jock Wilton. So very important. And we discussed the Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, and the other works of Robinson Crusoe or Moll Flanders, Captain Singleton. Do you have any idea about Robinson Crusoe or Moll Flanders or Captain Singleton? And his novels are very specific, and they are all the novels has a similarity. Can anyone answer my question? If you know, it's okay. Otherwise, we'll move to the next topic. So all his novels are,
Adventurous, sir.
yeah,
Adventurous, sir.
yeah, adventurous. Okay. Any other answer? I'm waiting. Generally, the title of the novel is very simple, Robinson Crusoe, but he gave the entire story of the Robinson Crusoe in a paragraph which is appended on the cover page of the novel. It's we can treat it as a subtitle or complete title. We can say full title. The full title is often a lengthy title, which is of almost 4 to 5 lines. So in which he has covered the entire story of the particular novel. So I will just move to the Defoe, Daniel Defoe's works. So if you permit, I will just scroll down. uh, just a minute. I will just show you one example. uh, Please wait. It's just a second to show you an example. Yeah, for example, just you see this term Robinson Crusoe is the name of the novel, and I told you this is treated as the first English novel, and the actual or the full title of the novel is this one: The Life and Strange Surprising Adventures of Robinson Crusoe of York, a mariner. I already told you he's a sailor, mariner, who lived 80 and 20 years, almost 20 and 80 means 28 years, all alone in an uninhabited island on the coast of America near the mouth of great river of Orinoco, having been cast on shore by shipwreck, wherein all the men perished but himself, with an account how he was at all. It's not over at, yeah, strangely delivered by pirates, written by himself. So this is the complete title of the Robinson Crusoe, and you will find all the other novels have the same type of novels, same type of complete full titles. Okay, even Roxana, a title, full title, Memory of Cavalier, Colonel Jog. You can see this. This is the full title of this Colonel Jog, and you can see Moll Flanders, very important novel. It's a story of a prostitute. Picaresque novel again, and Fortunes and Misfortunes of the famous Moll Flanders. So almost a paragraph. The name, the full title is almost a paragraph. Just if you go through the paragraph, you will just catch the entire story of that novel. So I'm just coming back to the today's, yes, screen. Yes. So I just want to tell you is Robinson Crusoe is the first novel by Daniel Defoe, but all the Defoe's novels are very lengthy titles, has very lengthy titles. Just remember this similarity of Daniel Defoe. And these are the early examples we discussed. And in 18th century, Richardson. Richardson, just now we discussed, Richardson is treated as the first epistolary novel, the creator of the first epistolary novel, and he is the father of modern novel. Father of modern novel. And we have another new term here. What is the meaning of epistolary? Epistolary. Anyone? Any guess? Please
In
type
the
it in the
form
chat.
of letters. In the
In the
form of
form of
letters.
in the form of
Letters.
letters. Yes, exactly. The word epistle means letter. Epistle means letter. So the entire novel will be in the form of letters written by one character to the other characters. So that is a type of invention by Richardson. So this is very important term in English literature. Epistolary novel is a novel written in the form of letters. So just now we have gone through one more term, that is picaresque. Don't get confused between picaresque and epistolary. Picaro means a rogue. Rogue means the one who has no work to do. He do some mischievous things. But here epistolary is nothing but written in the form of letters. And his very famous novel is Pamela. Just remember the name, and this is very important novel. And the subtitle is even more important. What is the subtitle here? The Virtue Rewarded. The Pamela is a uh, young girl, and here she is very virtuous. Virtuous in the sense, virtue means good, vice means bad. Don't forget these two words. Vice, vice, vice means bad, virtue means good. So she has a good quality, many good qualities. And she was seduced by her master. She was seduced by her master, sexually harassed, and she stopped eating food, and she protested him. And finally the boss has changed his attitude, and finally the boss marries this girl. She is a servant in the house, and this Pamela's virtue is rewarded at the end. Her great quality is admired. So that is the story of this Richardson's Pamela. Very important novel. And I have given the summary also. You can go to the literature with some Samuel Richardson's page, and you can just read the summary if possible in advance. So Pamela, the virtue rewarded. Don't forget, Pamela is a virtuous girl with full of virtues, and her virtue is rewarded at the end of the novel. And Henry Fielding's Joseph Andrews, Jonathan Wild, Tom Jones, Amelia. There are several novels which are in 18th century. And Smollett's Roderick Random, Peregrine Prickle, and Thomas Stearns is very important. Tristram Shandy, and this is one of the four most important experimental novels. We can call it as experimental novel. Tristram Shandy. Just remember this name, Tristram Shandy. And this is a very unconventional novel. Generally, English literature, this is the most complex of all the novels, one of the novels, and especially the novel written by James Joyce. James Joyce's novel. Any idea about James Joyce's works? So she's a modern. She's a modern, and there we'll discuss his novel, James Joyce's novel also. And this is one of the first first experimental novel in English literature. One second. And Goldsmith's Vicar of the Wakefield, and Dr. Johnson's Rasselas. Rasselas is a philosophical novel, and we'll all discuss this all novels in detail in the later classes. But I'm just giving you the name of the important genres here, subgenres of the novel. So our topic is today's topic is that, and today we are going to discuss all the types of novels here. And before that, I'm just giving you some important novels, list of them. I'm just going through the list of important works. And Gothic novel. So what is Gothic novel? Yesterday, Ravinder sir was discussing this. What is Gothic novel? Gothic novel. The Castle of Otranto. Otranto is one of the important novels, or first Gothic novel. Gothic novel is nothing but a novel of horror, a novel of fear, a novel of terror, a novel of ruined castles. Ruined castles. The Patha Kodal. So this is very important. One of the inventions of the Romanticism, age of Romanticism, and based on supernatural elements, ghosts, horror, and all these are included in the Gothic novels. And we have a list of Gothic novels in Romanticism. We will discuss it elaborately. The first Gothic novel is The Castle of Otranto. So the first picaresque novel we discussed, Unfortunate Traveler. First epistolary novel we discussed, Pamela. And first Gothic novel, Castle of Otranto. Castle. So the name itself suggests Castle means Castle of Otranto means it's related with some ghosts, terror, horror, fear. So just remember. And the other important Gothic novels are Vathek by Beckford, The Monk, and The Mysteries of Udolpho. All these are very important Gothic novels. And Jane Austen's novels are very important. And these are Sense and Sensibility, Northanger Abbey, Emma, Pride and Prejudice. All are focused on the country life, characters. So it's a tremendous change in the characterization of the women characters. So it's a revolt on the 18th century novels actually. So the different type of characterization is used in the Jane Austen's novels. And yesterday we discussed the Bronte sisters. There are three Bronte sisters: Emily Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, Emily Bronte, and one more Bronte. So did you remember the surnames of these three novelists? Yeah, Bell sisters, Annie Bronte, Emily Bronte, Charlotte Bronte. Three Bell sisters, very important. Just try to remember the names of the three Bell sisters and their important works. We also discussed the important work Jane Eyre and its connection to the feminist criticism, The Mad Women in the Attic. Don't forget that famous work we discussed in the previous class itself. And the historical novel mastered by Walter Scott, historical novel. So when you come across the term historical novel, you should get the idea of immediately our mind should flash and we should get the name on our lips. That is Walter Scott. Walter Scott. He is very famous for Waverley novels. So set in Waverley, a town, Waverley novels, historical novels, very important. And we discussed the Dickens novels in the previous class. David Copperfield, Great Expeditions, another. And Thackeray is very important work, Vanity Fair. And there is a connection between this Vanity Fair and Pilgrim Progress. Anyone, if you had any idea, just answer, type your answer. Walter Scott's, sorry, your Thackeray's Vanity Fair and Bunyan's Pilgrim Progress. Yes, the title is taken exactly. Ravinder sir, thank you. Yes, the title Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair is part of the journey of the Christian. So far we discussed in Pilgrim Progress, there is a discussion, there is a description of the Christian's journey in 10 stages. There are 10 stops. Remember this, 10 stops. There are 10 important stops. It's like a bus journey. It's like a journey in which the Christian travels from this world to the other world. So there are 10 stops in it. One of the stops named is Vanity Fair. So the title is taken from Pilgrim's Progress. So the Vanity Fair title is taken from Pilgrim's Progress, and this Vanity Fair is also very, very important novel. We'll discuss it in detail. And George Eliot's. So yesterday we discussed this Adam Beddy, Middlemarch, Mill on the Floss. All these are Hardy's Wessex novels. So there is a important term today we are going to discuss, that is called regional novel. Regional novel in the sense a novel which is based on a particular region. So Thomas Hardy is very famous for writing novels which are related to his Wessex. Wessex is a frontier, that is a place in which he portrayed about. Sorry. So he wrote about Wessex. Generally, he wrote about a place, Wessex, or we can say all his novels are related to the place called Wessex. So that is very important. Hardy is a Thomas Hardy is a regional novelist. So he wrote novels based on the Wessex, and that we discussed in the today's class itself. There are some political and social novels. So yesterday we discussed Benjamin Disraeli. He is a prime minister of UK, and his novel Civil. And did you remember the subtitle of the Civil now? So if it is possible, please type the answer in chat box. What is the subtitle of the Civil? Civil as a subtitle. Ravinder sir will help you if you don't know the answer. Please type the answer. Sibyl is a novel, is a political novel we discussed. Yes, Two Nations. Exactly, Aditi. Thank you. The subtitle of the Sibyl is Two Nations. Very important. And Gaskell's North and South and Barchester novels. These are very important novels. Trollope, Anthony Trollope. These are also very important novels. I'm just going through the important novels of English literature, and then we will move into the types of genres very quickly. And just out of curiosity, I'm just giving you some of the important questions from this. And we discussed the Treasure Island yesterday, about the adventures of a girl, Louis Stevenson, and Wilkie Collins. Very, very important detective fiction. Detective fiction we discussed in the previous class, that is The Women in White and The Moonstone. Only two novels are there, very important. Wilkie Collins, remember his name. And Butler, we discussed in the yesterday's class, Erewhon, and Lytton's The Coming Age, Morris, News from Nowhere. So these are all very important. Henry James psychological novels are also there, and these are all related to 19th century famous novels. And after the 50 years of the novel in the present century, the present 21st century, there are a lot of inventions are made in the subgenres of novels. So now we will look into the details of each and every uh, subgenre of the novels, subtype of novels. We can call it as sentimental novels. So these novels are emerged in the 18th or 19th century. So these are based on the emotions. These are based on the characterizations, especially the sufferings of the characters, the sorrows, the problems. The first of this type of is generally Rousseau's Julie, or the two Heloise, the new Heloise, sorry. The new Heloise is subtitle of this book, or the alternate title we can call. So the Gothis, the sorrows of the Werther, young Werther. This is also one of the important. And just now we discussed the Pamela, the virtue rewarded. Don't forget this word name. Whenever there is a word, if you find the word Pamela, you should immediately recall the subtitle, that is virtue rewarded. Very important. And frequently asked question in set examinations. The vicar of the Wakefield, just now we discussed, we come through this word, and man of feeling, all these are related to the sentimental novels. So in Vicar of the Wakefield, the vicar means the owner of that field. So he has five daughters and five sons and daughters. So his intention is to marry, getting married of them. So his entire sufferings are portrayed in the novel. The Oliver's Goldsmith, Vicar of the Wakefield, very important novel. And Tristram Shandy, we discussed, is an unconventional novel, experimental novel, very important. And Henry Brooks, The Fool of Quality, Tobias Smollett, Humphrey Clinker, and this is very important term. This is one of the net questions previously asked. Who is smell fungus? Or the question simply, it may be asked as who is criticized as smell fungus by Tobias Smollett. Here there are two novels with a light or slight difference. A sentimental journey through France and Italy. It is like a war of novels or literary war, you can say, or it's a response to the other work. Simple. So the first of work is Smollett wrote a work titled Travels Through France and Italy. Travels Through France and Italy. Same title almost. So his intention is to elevate his experiences in France and Italy. That is by Smollett. And in response to this, Lawrence Stern wrote a sentimental journey to Italy and France. So here he criticized the Smollett as smell fungus. So who he criticized here? Stern has criticized, because the first novel is written by Smollett, but this novel is not liked by Lawrence Stern. So Stern wrote a response to this novel criticizing the Smollett as smell fungus, describing Smollett smell fungus. Who is smell fungus here? Smollett is the smell fungus. Who said this? Stern. Lawrence Stern called him as the spell fungus. This is one of the previous questions of net. Just remember. So all these are categorized into sentimental novels. So only one thing, just remember, sentimental novels are based on the emotional responses of the characters, especially the characterization is important. The virtues and the vices are portrayed here. And remember one more thing, these are based on ordinary characters or day-to-day characters. So that is very important. And coming to the next criticize or critic responses on these uh, novels, that is sentimental novels. So one of the important novel by Henry Fielding is Shamela. Shamela is a novel by Henry Fielding. Just remember, there is a connection between Shamela and Pamela. So Pamela is written by, so I'm just testing your memory. Who wrote Pamela?
Richardson, sir.
Richardson. Thank you. And Richardson's Pamela is parodied, that is imitated by Henry Fielding. He wrote a similar novel called Shamela, in which Shamela is also a girl, but she is not a good girl. Simple thing. It's a parody. So in Pamela, Pamela is very virtuous girl. She is seduced by her boss or the owner or the one who gave the job to her. But here, Shamela herself seduces the boss. So that is a slight difference. So Balu sir, kindly mute. Yeah, thank you. I have muted you. Right. So there is a comparison between Shamela and Pamela. Just make a note of it. And Pamela is published in 1740, and this is in 1741. Just sometimes we need to just remember Pamela and Shamela. And this is a satire on the sentimental style. So, in the first novel, Pamela is portrayed as a virtuous girl. Sentiments, emotions are portrayed, but in Shamela, it is a satire. It is a comic representation of the Shamela here. So entirely in a different experience, in a different way, it was written. And Joseph Andrews, this is also parody. And I forgot to mention the Pamela's full name is Pamela Andrews. Make a note of this word, Pamela Andrews. And a similar novel, again a parody, but this time Joseph Andrews is none other than the brother of Pamela Andrews. Just remember the connection. Joseph Andrews is the brother of Pamela Andrews, again a virtuous man. So the first story, the Pamela is about a virtuous girl, and Joseph Andrews is about a virtuous boy. So simple connection. Just try to memorize it. And Jane Austen's novel Sense and Sensibility. In Telugu, we have a movie. It was almost 10 to 20 years ago. This movie was, I forgot the name, but actually the name is Priralu Pilichindi. The name of the movie is old movie is based on Jane Austen's novel Sense and Sensibility, and this is also a satire on the sentimental novel, a Telugu movie based on this novel. Just now I mentioned the name. And again, we have a uh, parody by James Joyce. I mean, in Ulysses, the famous work, Ulysses. And in the previous class also, we have a Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. That was a poem, but this Ulysses is a novel. This is by James Joyce. It's a modern novel. And here there is an episode of Nausicaa that is based on a parody on the sentimental novel. These are just references to the sentimental novel. And coming to the picaresque novel, just now we discussed the first picaresque novel is in English. It is The Unfortunate Traveler. The Unfortunate Traveler. So this was actually derived from a Spanish writer, that is very important work by Cervantes. Just remember the name Cervantes. The name of the work is Don Quixote. So you have to pronounce it like Quixote, Q-O-T, Quixote. So Don Quixote, it's a picaresque novel. Its origin. The origin is in this work, Don Quixote. It's a picaresque novel. So I just told you that is based on the adventures of a rogue, adventures of a picaro. So in other terms, the rogue is the hero of this novel. Simple terms, Picaro is the hero of the novel. So Daniel Defoe's novels, Captain Singleton, Henry Fielding's Joseph Andrews, and Jonathan Wild the Great is a Jonathan Wild the Great is a novel based on a criminal, the life of a criminal. Jonathan Wild the Great is a criminal, biography of a criminal. And Tom Jones, very important work. All these are picaresque novels. And even Vanity Fair, the subtitle is also very important. That is a novel without a hero. Very funny, but you have to remember these subtitles. Sometimes in examinations, at least one or two questions are asked from these subtitles. Make a note of this. Vanity Fair by Thackeray. And just now I told you, Vanity Fair is a stop in Pilgrim's Progress. These connections will give you a clarity. So give some relation, and it's make us easy to remember. So a novel without a hero. So just remember this. And Lawrence Stearns, the full title of Tristram Shandy is this. I just told you Tristram Shandy, but the original or full title is The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman. So this is the full title of that, Tristram Shandy. So very unconventional novel, experimental novel. And even Rolf Ellison's Invisible Man. and Adventures of Agui March. So adventures in the sense simply it's the adventures of a rogue. Under the Net, Tin Drum, The White Tiger by Arvind Adiga, Booker Prize winner, no winning novel. All these are based on Picaro, the rogue, the journey, the adventures of a Picaro. And a sentimental novel, this is also called as epistolary novel. Generally, epistolary word here is important. You have to remember the word epistolary. Epistle means letter. Epistle means letter. The first important letter or first important novel of this is Pamela. Pamela Andrews, and the name of the master is Mr. B, who seduced her, and finally she is rewarded. And Frankenstein, very very important novel by Mary Shelley. It's a partly Gothic novel and partly the first scientific novel, science fiction novel also. This is Frankenstein. Please make a note of it. Frankenstein is partly an epistolary novel, partly a science fiction novel, very important. And here epistolary, that means based on the letters. Here the main narrator is the Robert Wharton. Robert Walton is the narrator. Just remember this name. And he takes the point of view of Victor. Victor is the demon. Victor is the robotic novel, we can say. So here the scientist has invented this, created a creature that is called Victor, and this Victor kills his master, the inventor. And the rest of the story is narrated, very interesting one. So this is very very important, just remember this. And Dracula is very very important. This is a epistolary novel as well as a Gothic novel. Epistolary and Gothic. So Bram Stoker is a very important novelist. So it is compiled in the form of letters, I told you. And very interestingly, there are some experiments all done in this novel. That is, not only letters are used here, some newspaper clippings are also used, some diary entries, some doctor's notes, some telegrams, and some ship's log register, that is in and out of movement register. So all these are incorporated in this novel. So very interesting. Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is an epistolary as well as a Gothic novel. Please make a note of it. And Diary of a Young Girl by Annie Frank. Frequently asked questions here. This is a frequently asked question. So this is very important work because this is an experiences of a girl in World War II. So her experiences are recorded. Diary of a Young Girl, 1947. So very important and very interesting. After her death, her parents or other family members published this diary in the form of novel. So very important one. Color Purple. This is very very important work in literary criticism. This is by Alice Walker, who invented the term womenism. The term womenism, Alice Walker. And here the principal character, the important character is a Sally. She is a black teenage girl. She wrote letters to the god. Very important. Just remember this point. Color Purple, very important feminist work. We will discuss the feminist criticism. We have a big chapter on feminist criticism, almost 10 to 15 pages. And domestic novel, this is about again a sentimental novel. It's called as a subgenre of domestic novels. Sentimental novel. This is related to the domestic events, the lives of the ordinary people, and this is a form of novel writing by Fanny Burney, Jane Austen, very important writers. And regional novel, you have to memorize these terms. Malgudi, have you gone through this word? Have you ever listened this word Malgudi? Malgudi is a fictional town. Malgudi is a fictional village, fictional town in a R.K. Narayan novels. Very important. Rashipuram Krishnaswamy Narayan, one of the famous or important writers of English literature, Indian English literature. Malgudi is a place, is a town, is a village created by R.K. Narayan in his novels. It's an imaginary world, it's not a real one. And Wessex, it is a frontier in Thomas Hardy's novels. Yaknapatha county is actually, this was an error in this. Please correct it as a county. 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 It's not country. County. R is not necessary here. Just remove the R. Yeah. So Yaknapatha County. This is a Faulkner's novels. William Faulkner. So he set his novels in this place. So direct question in the previous examinations, Wessex is used in Hardy's novels. It's a regional novel. It depicts the customs, way of life, language, habits, culture of a particular region, particular place. So Malgudi is a place, Wessex is a place, Yaknapathawa country, county is a place. All these are regional novels. Very important. These three should be memorized. So very, very important. And now we are going to other term, that is Gothic novel. Of course, we have discussed this. Gothic is nothing but uh, it's a um, art term from art, Gothic art. It's a German term, but here this is related to the novel of horror, terror, fear. So with Gothic stories, with we can call it as some supernatural ghost stories simply. Castle of Otranto is very, very important. The first Gothic story, the subtitle itself is a Gothic story. Very important. Remember the subtitle, a Gothic story. And Frankenstein, just now I mentioned, Frankenstein is a first robotic novel, as well as epistolary novel, as well as a scientific fiction novel. Otherwise, next Monk by Louis. So this Louis is also known as Monk Louis by his surname, by his name. Surname itself has become the Monk, Monk Louis. Very important Gothic novel. And Beckford's Vathek, very important. Clara Reeves, Old English Baron. This is also one of the important Gothic novels. And Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights is also a, and Bronte sister, third Bronte sister, Annie Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, and Emily Bronte. The third is Bronte sister, that is Wuthering Heights. It is also a Gothic novel. And the next important one is scientific fiction. Generally, it is shortened as sci-fi. Sci-fi novel, or the other term for this is literature of ideas. Literature of ideas. So here, these scientific novels are generally set in the futuristic world. So the world in 2050, the world in 2100, the world into 21,100. All these are imaginary novels based on the science inventions, based on the scientific advancements. So that is why reason Time Machine is a novel. The best example by H.G. Wells, The Time Machine. In Telugu, we have a movie by Balakrishna titled Aditya 369 movie. It is based on the story of Time Machine. This is a sci-fi novel. So there are three persons, very important. Just please remember this trio, like Trinitians: Hugo Gemsbach, Jules Verne, and H.G. Wells. These three are called as the fathers of science fiction. So these three are very important. And there is an award called Hugo Awards, like Oscar Awards, like Booker Prize, like Nobel Prize. There is also award called Hugo Awards. These Hugo Awards are given to the best science fiction works. Hugo, simply they called as Hugos. Hugo Jumps Back Award. That is Hugo Award. Just remember these three names, very important. And these works are also very important. H.G. Wells' Time Machine, Island of Dr. Moreau, and Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds. So all these are very important. And even the Julius Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas, around the world in 80 days. All these you can just imagine with the title itself. These are related to science fiction. And one of the foremost important science fiction is in the Arabian Nights also, the Arabian stories. And Johannes Kepler's work Somnium is also based on the science fiction concept. And Francis Bacon's New Atlantis, one of the famous works. And even Jonathan Swift's satire, The Gulliver Travels. So as I was talking about Lilliputs, it's a science fiction. It's a fiction based on the scientific advancement. It is also based on the sci-fi novel. It's going to be called as sci-fi novel. And there are some scientific issues also discussed in that novel. So very important. And Stream of Consciousness. This is like a very important novel. Stream. It's like a flow of thoughts. So generally in this stream of conscious novels, what happens is there is a important importance to the inner mind, inner mind of the characters. Especially those inner mind of the characters is revealed through soliloquies, a lengthy dialogues of the characters. So their thoughts, their feelings are expressed in a stream of conscious novels. Especially these are can be called as psychological studies based on the psychology of the characters, based on the stream of thoughts. It's like a stream anamata. So here a very important term. It's coined by William James. He's a psychologist, and in his book Principles of Psychology. But this term was coined by William James in psychological terms. But that same term is applied in literary concept is Mary Sinclair. That is very important. And in her literary analysis of Dorothy Richardson's works, Dorothy Richardson is very well known for 13 novels, very important. All these novels are interrelated. This is a series of 13 semi autobiographical novels called Pilgrimage. So these 13 novels are related to stream of consciousness. And who invented the term? That is Mary Sinclair has applied the term, but the term was invented by William James. Just remember this. So often we get questions in this areas also. Who coined the term? Who popularized the term? Who used the term in which context? So these are all very important in literature. And James Joyce's Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, Ulysses, the 1922 is a year is very very important year. So I posted a message in the previously in the group also. 1922 is very important year. And Finnegan's Wake, the most complex work in English literature, very very complex. So we have a special entry at the James Joyce. You can just go to the material. Finnegan's Wake is a world record now, is a Guinness record now, because the type of words used in this novel are ungoogleable or nowhere find in the dictionary also. For example, to quote is, there are 10 words, there are 10 very important words which 100-letter words, 100-letter words are used. One word has 100 letters in it. So like that she used 10 words, and interestingly the 10th word has 101 words. So almost 1001 words So 1001 letters, sorry. So one each word has 100 letters. Each word has 100 letters. So imagine how complex it is to read. So we cannot pronounce the word. So that is a experiment done by sorry James Joyce in Finnegan's Wake. That is the reason this is treated as the world's typical or most complex novel, which is a Guinness record now. So Virginia Woolf's the other novels also based on Mrs. Dalloway. To the Lighthouse also treated as the stream of conscious novels, and Faulkner's Sound and Fury, Morris' beloved, very famous novel. All these are treated as stream of conscious novels. Only one thing is to be understood here is stream of conscious novels. The focus is on the author's the character's inner mind. The character's inner mind is revealed, and we have an important term, Bildungsroman. So I'm very happy today. One of our students has posted the question in WhatsApp. So yesterday, Ravinder sir has given a task, but only few people has done the task. Only one or two, I think. So very interesting. Thank you, sir, for your initiative. But all students must respond. At least I expected 50 questions, but at least 10 questions were not seen in the WhatsApp group. So please post the questions as Ravinder sir gave the task. And coming to this Bildungsroman. Bildungsroman is nothing but a novel of development, a novel of education, a novel of formation, a novel of growth, or other words, coming of age novel. That is, the focus is on the growth of the hero or heroine, especially from boyhood to the youth. How that hero has emerged, how the boy has or the girl has become come to the maturity here, the coming of age. In other words, just remember this is called as novel of education, novel of formation. So Bildung, formation, Roman, that is novel. So novel of formation. So this is the first important novel of formation in English. Sorry, it's translated into English, but actually written in German. That is Wilhelm's Meister's Apprenticeship. This was written by Goethe and translated by Thomas Carlyle. The first Bildungsroman work in English literature is Sartor Resartus. So there is another subtitle. This for this. Can anyone answer the question? What is the other name for Sartor Resartus? Yesterday we discussed this in the class. What is the other name for Sartus Resartus? The other title of this novel. Thomas Carlyle, Victorian. Sartor Resartus, the other title of this work. I want responses from you. Sartor Resartus. Taylor retailored. Just remember. Taylor retailored. Taylor retailored. It's a very important work. And Henry Dickens, David Copperfield, very important work. Kim, the work Kim by Rudyard Kipling. Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence, and Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, that is by James Joyce. J.D. Salinger, we discussed it in in the fiction itself. The first beginning of the class, we discussed this. This is a very complex novel. These two, To Kill a Mockingbird and The Catcher in the Rye. But of course, these are categorized as Bildungsroman, but these are also can be categorized into different other novels also. The simple thing, these are not only fit in one particular genre, these novels can be fitted into several other types of genres also. It is very difficult to segregate or categorize them into one single literary genre. So that's why we discuss the term here in the beginning of the class. that is, yeah, literary fiction and genre fiction. Please remember these two terms. And now we have another term called uh, Kunstelroman. Kunstelroman is also a novel, that is also a Bildungsroman. But here, remember, in Kunstelroman, the boy or the girl is an artist or a writer or a writer. So, in simple terms, Bildungsroman, in Bildungsroman, the hero or heroine may be any person, but in Kunstelroman, the hero or heroine must be an artist or a writer. So that is the main difference. And here there are other terms also, but these are not necessary. But just make a note of this. All these are German terms. Development novel, Roman, Erziehungsroman, educational Roman, Kunstelroman, artist novel. Just Kunstelroman is very important. This just remember this term. So here, if the hero is an artist, if the hero is a writer, for example, David Copperfield, a well-known novel, story of Dickens himself. That's why this David Copperfield can be called as a Kunstelroman as well as a Bildungsroman. So what is the main difference here is Kunstelroman is a subgenre of the Bildungsroman. In simple terms, I will give you one word. All Kunstelroman's novels are also Bildungsromans, but in reverse is not right. That is, all Bildungsromans are not Kunstelromans. Are you following me? So every Kunstelroman is a Bildungsroman, but every Bildungsroman is not a Kunstelroman. That is, every novel which is talking about the formation, the education of the hero is not a Kunstelroman. Please remember this. Just difference, small light difference. Very important. And coming to two important points, utopian and dystopian. Very, very important terms. These two are. Utopian means a good place. Utopia means U means good, topia means place, good place. Dystopia, dis means bad, dystopia, that is bad place. It is opposite to the utopia. So now we'll discuss what is utopia. So Utopia is a famous novel by Thomas More. Thomas More, and very, very important. And utopia, in other words, utopia, that means an ideal place, a good place. So this is very, very important. It eliminates the sorrows, problems, crime, and all other issues which are evil from this world, and only good things are portrayed in the novel. So all the characters are very happy in this. They lead a happy life. The society is systematic and organized. Every person or every citizen follows the rules of the government, and they are lead a happy life in utopia. Whereas in dystopia, it is completely opposite. Only crime, only anti utopia is seen in the dystopian novels. For example, Utopia is written by Thomas More, in very, very important. And even the Republic is a very famous work by Plato. William Morris, News from Nowhere, New Atlantis by Francis Bacon, all these are very important. Robinson Crusoe is also a very important one, that is utopian work. And Gulliver Travels can be categorized into both. It is a utopian work as well as a dystopian work. And Rasselas is a Samuel Johnson's philosophical novel. Walden 2 by Skinner. All these are utopian novels. This is based on good place. So to quote some examples of utopian, so in Utopia, the Thomas More's work is very important. I have given detailed description of this work. All the people have 8 hours of work in Utopia, in a novel written by Thomas More. They have 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and 8 hours of recreational work, and there is no gambling, no betting, or no cheating like games are played. Only useful games are played, and every person is a literate, 100% literate, and every person is a lawyer. He can uh, go to court and he can solve his own problems, and every person gets the work of 8 hours. There is no crime in at all in the utopia, and every house is fully sophisticated, and they have drainage system, everything, and every possible is portrayed in the utopian world. But in dystopia it is reverse. In time machine we have the wars. When the sleeper awakes, very very important work this is. A sleeper wakes, so it's a dystopian novel. He the main hero drinks a wine, and he wakes after 200 years and becomes rich in the world by his money in the bank. Very interesting novel by H.G. Wells. Gulliver Travels, 1984. We have 1984 by George Orwell, and Bradbury's Foreign Heat, very important work in which the books are burned. The books are banned in the world, and if any person has a book, they will be punished, and that house will be burned. So this is very important work by Red Bradbury. This is Brave New World, very very important world. And here the babies are grown in hatcheries without any manual involvement. Very very funny and very interesting novel by Aldous Huxley, and this is a dystopian work. All these are very important. The Trial by Franz Kafka, it's a dystopian work. So all these are very important, and we have a few two more terms, and just I will close the class in just 2 minutes. Please be uh, please cooperate with me. I will take a 1 minute break. I'm sorry for keeping you in waiting. Just a 1 minute. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm back. Novella. Novella is shorter than a novel and lengthier than a short story. So, the famous novella is George Orwell's Animal Farm. This is also called as a beast fable. Also, beast fable is nothing but animal tale in which animals behave as if they are humans. They walk, they talk, they drink, they eat, and they involve in huge. They behave as humans. So, Animal Farm is a very important novella. Sorry, this is part of intermediate syllabus as a non-detailed textbook. And Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad is also very important novella. Christmas Carol, and very very important short story that novella, that is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. So one should read all these four summaries, very important for examination. So coming to the short story, short stories are very simple, very shortened form of novel. Simply we can call it a shortened form of novel. So they are very quick in plot, in character, in setting. So we just feel the turns very quickly. So here I have given some important short stories, and the very important first short stories are seen in the Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Just make a note of this. In Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, only two stories are written in the prose. So this is based on Boccaccio's Decameron. I just know I just told you in the beginning of the class. Decameron. Decameron is nothing but a collection of 100 stories written in 1350. Very important work. And Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is a model of this. So even Chaucer has planned to write more than 100 stories, but only 24 are finished, and we have only 24. And out of that, only two stories are written in the prose. The remaining are written in the poem, the format of poetry. So now these two tales are very important and frequently asked questions in examinations. Parson's Tale and Tale of Melibee. Those two tales are the first example of the short stories. And Edgar Allan Poe, Nathaniel Hawthorne, all these are famous for short stories, and these are very important. And short stories are based on some short stories are based on plot, some are based on character, some are based on setting. But very important short stories in English literature. I just given some examples to you. So Dickens, The Signal Man, Oscar Wilde's The Happy Prince, Rip Van Winkle. So this is a story of a man who drank a wine and slept on a mountain for 20 years. And after waking up, he finds everyone in his village was died. And this is a very important story. This was included in the syllabus of 8th or ninth, I don't know exactly, the previous textbooks. And Arthur Conan Doyle is a famous for detective novels. And Edgar Allan Poe, all these are very important. Ho Henry's story, The Gift of Maggie. Sometimes we may get a questions on short stories also, but not much important short stories. So Beast Fable, I told you that is a story of animals. So here Panchatantra story, Ace of Fables, all these are based on the stories of animals, birds. So they behave like humans. So this is the today's class, and thank you for your patience. Tomorrow we'll discuss the non-fiction. So now the session is open for any discussion. If you have any questions, please ask, or you can post to me in WhatsApp also. I will be very happy to receive your queries. So I have taken much of your time today, almost 1.5 hours. Thank you for your patience. Now the session is open for your queries. If you have any